I am with Dr. Dailey. Dr. Dailey is my foot doctor. And when I started doing triathlons and started running, I have not only mental health obstacles, but I have physical obstacles. And two of those main physical obstacles is I've had knee surgeries several times, and I have flat feet. And when I first started doing this, I would reach out to social media groups and run groups, and I would post like, what shoes are people with flat feet wearing? What insoles are people with flat feet wearing? And so many people gave me so many different answers, and I tried to do some research off those answers that they gave me, and nothing worked for me. And when we talk about flat feet, I 100% have absolutely flat feet. So there's a lot of misinformation and about people with flat feet. I've been told you shouldn't be running with your flat feet. The military used to have a rule that you can't join if you have flat feet. And that's really was a misnomer. You know, like it's not true. Like you can run with flat feet. They just have to be supported correctly, right?
That's correct.
So I reached out to Dr. Dailey and I started seeing him, and Dr. Dailey printed me, not you specifically, but you ordered me these 3D printed insoles. And several years before I started running, I had custom insoles, but they were really hard and really thick and really heavy, and these aren't the case. And we went through a couple different pairs with these to try to figure out the best way. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is because there are people out there with flat feet, and they have these ideas that they can't run. They have these ideas that they can't cycle, they can't do this, or they can't do that with their flat feet.
Correct.
And that's why we're kind of here today.
Yeah, so there's a lot with flat feet, and a lot of people out there with flat feet. Now sometimes there's no issues whatsoever. They can do their everyday things, but when they start to increase their activity, you know, as far as exercising, running, playing with their kids or grandkids or things like that, that's really where we can experience pain or discomfort. So I explain feet as our foundation. So if we don't have that arch and they're sitting flatter, everything on up is out of alignment. So it can cause some knee, hip, and back issues too. So with flat feet, there's a couple different versions. Of course, there's a really rigid, stiff, flat foot. And then there's that flexible version, where sometimes when you're off your feet, you have a little bit of an arch. When you stand on them, it just goes completely flat. And that's where orthotics, arch supports, can come into play to really help support what you have. We're not trying to recreate an arch, we're just trying to support what you have. So you can go run, you can go do your activity, you can have that foundation so that you can run through and not have that pain or discomfort that we were experiencing. And that's really why I do that, is to actually get you past that obstacle so that you can do those things that you enjoy, you know, to really kind of get your life back, which is how I look at it. You know, it's amazing how technology has changed over the last 40, 50 years. You know, even 10 or 15 years ago, where you talk about those hard insoles, which we do have to support it. Some people, they have to have those hard insoles, and that's okay. But we have to find the right one for you. And like you mentioned, we've gone through a couple different versions of these where, hey, you know what, yeah, they were working for a little bit, but we need to tweak them as some of our mileage increases or some of our activity increases, and we notice these things. And that's where finding a doctor that's right for you, that like will work with you. Because sometimes we just dispense these and we say, all right, good luck. You know, where I want that feedback. I want to know I don't know if you don't tell me that they're not working.
Yeah.
Or what areas are discomfort or painful when you're running. And that's what we kind of tweaked on these. You're like, hey, it's right in here. And sometimes you even highlight that area where it's a little bit more painful. So.
And the first pair that we got, and so for those of you who don't know, I'm a rather large guy. Like I'm 225 pounds, and that's a lot of impact, right, on the sole. So the first pair that we got, like the company that makes these, not to say this guy's a 220-pound man and he's running 11 triathlon or 10 whatever triathlon, you know. And the first pair that we have it kind of weakened and it softened, and these are 3D printed. And then they ordered the second pair that they stiffened them up. They 3D printed them a little bit thicker. And when I first started running without these, what I noticed before I came to you is that when I was done running, my ankles hurt, my knees hurt, and my hips hurt.
Yeah.
All together. They were very tender and sore. And after I got these, that stopped. Why is that? Why was I feeling that?
Yeah, well, we talk about that foundation aspect of it. So when we have that arch, and your leg comes down here, and then when that arch falls, it really redistributes that weight, all that pressure comes to the inside of the foot. Usually your foot will move outwards, and that leg will come more on the inside of that foot or ankle, and then everything kind of twists. So even with the ankle joint, we'll get some twisting in there, and then you're having all this compensation. So the knee is twisting, the hip is twisting, and so all of that stuff together, and especially that activity level, it's like if you're just walking around, sometimes no problems. But when we're putting that extra stress on it, that's where we'll really notice all that achiness, all that pain and discomfort. If you push through it, which sometimes we do, it's going to go away, it's going to get better. We'll push through that, and then that's where you're going to end up with really some injuries, because you're running or doing your activities so inefficiently that you're putting more stress and strain on all the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, and even those joint structures. So if we look at some of those elite runners, we're like, man, they just run so nice, their form is great. They don't usually have these problems because they're running pretty symmetrical and all their muscles are working in conjunction with each other in that most efficient position they can be in. And so that's why we do the insoles, to try and put you in a little more efficient position and really try and make you symmetrical so you're not putting more pressure on one side versus the other, so that you can still do that activity without pain.
Yeah, that was a lot of impact when I was running before these. It was, and once you explained it to me when we first met, and how the ankle, when you land, you know, the ankle twists.
Yeah.
And when that ankle twists, the knee twists, and then the hip twists. And you do 3 miles as fast as you can at 225 pounds or even 150 pounds. I can see how that constant jarring can be painful, and it can like push people away and say, I don't want to run, I'm flat-footed.
Yeah. Even your first mile, you'd be like, yeah, I'm doing great. But those muscles are working a lot harder to really hold that position. So sometimes you can do 1 mile and your form is perfect. And then it's like, okay, those muscles are going to get tired faster. So the more that we do, the less efficient that becomes, because we're not supporting that structure as well.
Right.
So we're not in that good position anymore. You know, flat feet, like I said, sometimes they're not painful, but if we want to do that activity and they're painful, that's where we have to step in and say, okay, what can we do to help you get to your goal? And that's really what we do here. We try and listen to you and say, okay, well, some of our goals are really high, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a big goal. I mean, Brandon sharing me some of the stories, and I'm like, wow, okay. You know, I've run a marathon before. I don't want to do another one, but you know, and everyone has different goals and different levels of activity. You know, but anything that we can do to help you meet that, that's really what we strive here to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Let it be a 5K
Exactly.
or a full marathon or an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if you want the proper support and you want to be able to achieve that goal without getting hurt.
Right. Yeah. Or even just training. You know, I mean, training, as you know, takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, for the things that you're doing.
Right.
But, you know, even for a 5K, just training, people give up because they can't do the training without pain.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh yeah, I could do 3 miles once, but trying to build up and kind of build up on that practice and that training, that's where they get that pain, and then they get hurt, and then they can't.
Right.
sometimes they can't do that because they can't push through that, or they end up with broken bone or stretch fracture or torn tendon or something like that, then they're out until the next time comes around. So,
Right.
yeah.
And that's one of the things. So for those of you who don't know, last summer I did 11 medals for the 11 years that bipolar took over my life. I did 10 triathlons and I swam around an island. This year I'm doing the 400-mile, 4-day Try for Hope, which is from Hell, Michigan. So for this event that I'm doing, my normal training week, like last week, I was running 8 miles, 5 days out of the week. So that's a lot of impact on the foot, 100%. And if I did not have the proper support, I'd be in here all the time. And if I hurt myself, I wouldn't be able to achieve that goal.
Right. So that's really achieving your goal is where we're at with it. You know, we want to see you succeed. We want to see everyone succeed and be able to reach that. And anything that we can do to help you get there is just amazing. For me, that's what I get out of it. That's why I do this.
Right.
You know, I mean, 400 miles, you think of it, for anyone, it's a lot of training. You know, some people will think it's a little crazy to do that.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of people.
A lot of people.
But, you know, when you train right, and if you haven't, you should really follow this page, because you posted that picture of your training schedule.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay. You know, to put that much dedication into this is just amazing. You know,
Yeah.
it takes up your life. It's what you are now, and that's what keeps you, really keeps you going, keeps you motivated. It's amazing. I mean, for anyone to put in that much training is
it's a lot.
Unreal.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's really, it's kind of crazy, because last summer when I did the 11 medals for the 11 years, I did 10 sprint triathlons, and my normal day of training is doing like an Olympic triathlon every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's still mind-boggling to me, like I'm 45 years old and I'm achieving this goal, you know? So the next time someone thinks I can't achieve a goal because I'm 45 or I have flat feet, there's things out there, you can achieve that goal, you can overcome this obstacle. So can you tell me a little bit about this?
So the reason I kind of chose a 3D printed device is because you can replicate it very easily. So really what we do, we take scans of your feet, we watch you walk, we do some pressure measurements, and basically it's all computer. The algorithm in there makes a device for you. Now we can tweak it. Like I said, we had to. I mean, really we made this for 240 pound person that's doing everyday activity, which, as we know, you're doing a lot more than everyday activity, so you're going to put a lot more stress and strain on it. So our first version, we did have to, as he talked to me, and I said, okay, yeah, that one's works for the everyday person, but not for what you're training for, not for what you're doing now. So basically what we did, we went back to the computer and we're like, well, we can stiffen up the arch, we can tweak this device to make it personal for you. I mean, it's a custom device already, but we just need to put those little tweaks in it. And the nice part about it, we order it, and then you're like, hey, you know what? Yes, that's perfect. I need another pair, and it will be exactly the same. Because it's 3D printed, it's just, you know, versus some of the old ones, you had the old lab that I used had a person checking each device. So one person, depending on how they feel that day, like, oh, hey, that feels good for a 220 pound person. It could be that slight variability where it doesn't feel the same when you put it on. So that's really why I like the 3D printed devices, because just to make that the same every time is really why I like that.
Yeah.
And eventually, maybe, I mean, those printers are getting cheaper and cheaper. You know, maybe we'll be able to do something where we bring it into the office. I know some offices already do that, but to be able to, hey, we're going to get you a custom device, we'll have it for you in a day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, even now it's probably just less than 2 weeks to get it back. Where before it was like, okay, we won't have one back for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm training every day. What do I do now?
Right.
So, yeah, you know, and so that's really why I chose this device, and your feet are so flat.
Right.
And to support that weight, just going through it, I mean, you're putting all that weight on one foot when you're running, and even with cycling and swimming, I mean, of course you're not going to wear these swimming, but cycling.
Right, cycling's a huge one. So
lower impact, but we still need to support that.
Right.
Because you're going to do all three, so we need to have that support.
So I brought my cycling shoes, and when I went and saw the fitter, one of the things he was talking about is that when you push down and into that downstroke, that it's good to have insoles, because when you do have an arch, right, and you push down, each time you push down and your foot flexes, that's a loss of energy. Because for a moment, before that pressure is applied, your foot is flexing into the shoe and then it pushes down into the downstroke. And he said that's why it's really good to have insoles in cycling shoes. Now, this is lake cycling. And when I was looking for a cycling shoe, I had a very hard time trying to find a cycling shoe that would fit these insoles. Okay. So I ordered several different pairs. I'm sponsored by Ray's Bike Shop. They ordered several different pairs. And the problem with cycling shoes is that underneath they're super, super skinny. A lot of them.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Lake Cycling and I told them my obstacle. I told them I have flat feet. And they said, we just designed a shoe for people with flat feet and wide feet. And that's what this is. Most cycling shoes are about that skinny.
Yeah.
This fits my insole perfectly. It slides right inside of there. And I love these shoes. They're carbon fiber, they're super light. They have a BOA system on them, and I really like them. Then, after I had these insoles, I also had to try to find a pair of running shoes to fit these. Because running shoes, and shoes in general, have a very skinny, they're not made for people with flat feet, And the problem I was having is that even with these, is that it would like squish down where the arch is.
Yeah.
So I went through several different pairs of shoes trying to find a pair of shoes that would fit these insoles. And these are the Saucony Hurricane Wides. And these have been amazing because they fit custom insoles. And I absolutely love these shoes.
Yeah, and I tell people I'm not huge on telling people what brand of shoe to get, and you know this, and I'm like, it's really about trying that shoe on to see which one fits great for you.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, it's a Brooks Glycerin. Now that one doesn't work for everyone, and I put my insoles in there and that's fine. The nice thing about a lot of running shoes now will do a lot more cushion, and with the Saucony Hurricane, you're going to get that cushion with it for the higher mileage that you're doing, so that's good too. Now again, it's really about comfort and fit for the patient. I mean, you do want a stable shoe, especially with flat feet. Right. Because if you look at the shoe and you're not wearing an insole, a lot of times you can look at this area of the shoe and you'll notice someone in flat feet, this side will be way over here.
Right.
Because that arch is collapsing so much, the leg is putting all that pressure on the inside, and that's where you'll really notice all that pain and discomfort. And you talked about destroying this side of it.
Yeah.
Really, because that's how your weight structure is when you don't have an insole on there. It puts it all to the inside and it destroys that shoe a lot faster. And then when you look at the wear pattern of shoes, I mean, it should be pretty even wear pattern. If you're noticing, hey, I'm wearing out a lot more on the inside of the shoe or the outside of the shoe, again, that's where insoles can come into play to make you more symmetrical,
right? So
that you're more efficient. And you talked a little bit about the cycling shoes, about coming down. I mean, if we just think about how much energy it takes, okay, so I go flat-footed to push that pedal down, my foot has to come back up, so that's a lot of energy. Whereas if it's like, okay, I'm coming down and back up, it's not as much energy as pushing down through that, flattening out the foot and then coming back up. So, and I didn't realize realize you had the wide shoes. I didn't get to see those yet. So, and that's nice, and that's finding the right thing for your obstacle to get around it or to get through it. So, Saucony is a great brand, and it just depends on what fits for you.
Right.
What's working for you.
The biggest thing that I recommend to people when they ask me about shoes or, the flat feet or anything, I tell them to try to find a shoe store with a treadmill and take your insoles into a running store with a treadmill. I went through probably 40 different pair of shoes, just trying to find the shoes that fit perfectly.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. You need to find somebody that really knows shoes. I have a friend that works at a running store, and he actually recommended these shoes to me. And I tried all kinds of shoes, and these were it. It was a wide, and they worked perfectly. But make sure that you try the shoes and run with the shoes, and make sure that your body likes them.
And finding a store that you can work with. If you're having problems with shoes, finding a store. And it can be a running shoe store, even if you're not a runner, if you're a walker, that's fine. But finding one that you can work with that'll say, yep, go ahead and go do your activity in the shoe. Because a lot of times when we try them on in the store, they feel great.
Right.
It's new. All that cushion is there. But when we do our activity in them, it's just like, oh, this isn't going to work. Now most stores will be like, oh, you wore it outside. You can't take that back. So some running stores will let you run in them, let you do your activity, sometimes up to 30 days or 60 days. And if you have a problem, you bring it back and you exchange it for something different. That's what I like about some of those stores. Treadmill running is good too, because you actually get your activity in there. But some people don't run on a treadmill, they run outside.
Right.
And so that's what I like about some of those stores around here. They'll do that 30-day return window.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell most of my patients, just go try on the shoe. If it's uncomfortable when you first get it, it's not going to get better, as you probably know.
Right, yeah.
If you notice that right away, you're not going to break that in. It's going to be just miserable the whole time. So just don't get that shoe. But again, running in it, doing your activities so that you know if that's going to be the right shoe for you.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Make sure your feet are comfortable in the activity you do. That way you're not causing pain, you'll enjoy that activity.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then sometimes going towards the end of the day to fit shoes. Because sometimes we'll have some swelling and things like that. So sometimes it's better to do it towards the end of the day so that you get a good fit for how your feet are going to feel towards that time. Yeah. Versus the morning where there's no swelling, there's nothing like that. So it really does make a big difference with shoes.
Yeah, no, it really does.
I had a pair recently that I tried on in the store and I loved it. I'm like, man, the cushion feels great. I took them home and I did some activity. I'm like, I don't like these as much, And so the other thing too is once you find a shoe that you like and love, stick with that until they change. Shoes will try and change or tweak it a little bit here and there. They typically will not make big changes if they're a good shoe. But sometimes they'll make those little tweaks, and then if for some reason you don't like that little tweak, that's when you look at a different brand or model. No, it's a good shoe.
So, before we wrap things up, is there anything that you want to talk about beforehand that I might have missed?
I don't think so. Not really. But really we talk about obstacles. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to really overcome those obstacles, get through those obstacles. Our feet or our legs really shouldn't be stopping us from doing the things that we enjoy.
Right.
Like I said, it could be that, hey, I don't want to do a 400-mile activity. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes it's just playing with your kids. Getting out there and just playing with your kids, or just going for a walk with a significant other, or by yourself, just to clear your mind. You shouldn't have to do that stuff with pain, and to keep us doing the things that we love and we enjoy. That's really what I get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
So what's the best way to contact you? If for anybody that has any questions out there.
Yeah. Of course, you know, you can find us at our website, freelandfoot.com, and that has all of our contact information. And you can also call or even text our office number, which is 989-695-6788. So, yeah, we'd be more than happy to talk about some of those things.
Thanks for sitting down and talking to me about this, because
Yeah.
it really does mean a lot. Like I said, my whole platform is about overcoming those obstacles. And to show people that if you're dealing with something, like there's a way, there's a tool, there's information that we can find. We can work together to find a way for you to overcome that obstacle, to achieve whatever goal that you have. If it's a 5K, a sprint triathlon, or a 400-mile triathlon, there's a way that we can figure this out.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. Trying to get you to that.
Yeah.
And getting you through that obstacle.
Well, thanks for sitting down.
Yeah.